Hey everybody, this is Carl, another coming back with another Black History Month movie and slash Valentine's Day. And I just finished with my spoiler review of Sidney Poitier's movie Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which you can check out on my YouTube channel for you and Odyssey channel if you're watching this in the future, because I'm doing this on Twitch currently live right now. You can follow me on links in the description. By the way, don't forget to leave a like, comment, share this with your friends, and just try to get some likes hitting on this video. After my viewing of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, I thought it would have been a good idea to watch and review the movie, which is kind of based on Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Guess Who, starring Bernie Mac and Ashton Kutcher. It was released in 2005, directed by Kevin Rodney Sullivan. Starring Bernie Mac as Percy Jones, Judith Scott as Marilyn Jones, the wife, Zoe Saldana as Teresa Jones, the daughter, Ashton Kutcher as Simon Green as Teresa's boyfriend, Hal Williams as Howard Jones, Percy's father, Kelly Stewart as Keisha Jones, Teresa's sister. And yeah, like I said, this is very much based on Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. And after the Netflix movie You People came out, and it's pretty much like had that kind of same premise, but from what I'm hearing, it's like, ain't doing nothing that much new with it, with that premise. Here, I think it runs into kind of problems that certain reviewers like Dan Merle, who I follow a lot, have pointed out from You People, where it's like you kind of run to the same kind of shtick where you're not doing too much new things with that concept other than making it a comedy. But I'll go over my review of the film and let you know what I think overall on this, early 2000s film. And between Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which was released in 1967, up until Guess Who, which was released in 2005, I'm not sure how many of movies who had, I'm pretty sure there had to be some that had that same premise as this. I think You People is like the more recent one that I can think of. But, I guess some people might say, like, how much new can you do with something with that? I don't know, it doesn't have to be like a white person, a black person. It could be Asian and Mexican, or Indian and black. You don't know. You can, like, mix it up a bit and still have that kind of same dialogue. But anyway, we open up with by the way, Bernie Mac, a fellow Chicagoan, RIP to him. He was one of the best comics out there. He's literally a king of comedy. And God, I don't know like how old he was, in like mid to late 50s when he passed away from pneumonia. It was just, it was just terrible. It was like one of like the best, and so funny. A fellow Chicago native, he was just great, and I liked a lot of his films. Of of course, like the Ocean's 11 films, he was great. But as far as like movies that he was the lead in, uh, you know, they did fine. It wasn't like, you know, gangbusters of a blockbuster film, but it was all fun films. You know, like you'll have fun watching these, like Mr. 3000 or, you know, Guess Who, and other stuff. He's been more so supporting roles. But anyway, the movie opens up with Simon, who is quitting his job and leaving this big banking firm thing he was a part of. And of course, he didn't tell his girlfriend, who he's engaged to, what he was doing or planning on doing. And I'm thinking to myself, why you come all the way dressed up to come quit your job there? It's like you can go in your street clothes and just done this. You went fully dressed up. Like, did you work most of the day? Because well, I guess you gotta put up appearances, and maybe he was debating whether or not to do it, but he just finally got the stones and did it. But as he's leaving out the building, he's talking on his phone, a flip phone. This is early 2000s. It's like, wow, flip phones. Remember those? They're pretty much antiques at this point. And they should belong in a museum. And I didn't really notice it because, like, I watched this like a few times, you know, back in the day. I think I had a DVD. I couldn't find it anywhere in the house. But but on the street corner, while Simon's talking on the phone, there's a shot right behind him. It's kind of like no so subtle hint of, obviously you knew what this movie was going to be about. It was, you know, probably all in the trailers back then and everything like that. But it's like, you know, nice little, like, I don't know if you call it foreshadowing, or I don't know what the terminology would be, but there's a couple right behind his left shoulder that is like, you know, making out. It's like a white man and an Asian woman, and it's like playing up to the theme. I thought, I was like, okay, like I said, it's like I don't know what the terminology is. Like my part of my brain says foreshadowing, but I could be wrong on that term. But it's like, I guess, a subtle hint, I guess. But it's just like, you know, it's like I never noticed that before because I was so focused on, like, when I was a young kid, I was so focused on, like, oh, Ashton Kutcher, and everything like that. I noticed like those kind of little details you probably would have just missed. I thought that was kind of cool. But you know, unless you're like, you know, reviewing this and you know, looking for certain things that the average person just watching it generically wouldn't pick up, you know, it's kind of like shows like the creativity of the director. So he comes home. He intends to break the news to Teresa. Doesn't know how to explain it, but you never know until like the tail end of why he quit his job. But he figured that he already had like a offer from a different firm in that he couldn't go to because he was like with, you know, his previous place of work. So he's checking up with them just to try to land a job quickly without, you know, it being a big deal. And so they plan on traveling to Teresa's parents' house because they'll be celebrating their 25th anniversary. And clearly they've been living together for quite a long time. They have like these pictures, and Teresa had this picture of her dad clearly arguing with a ref at like one of her little sports games she had back in the day. And she pointed out, oh, we was winning actually. It's like, why would you take a photo of him immediately well, not immediately, but just taking a photo of him like just arguing with a ref? Why is that like a good photo to have? I don't know. I thought it was just weird. And it's like, you took just like a out of nowhere photo of that exact moment, and you choose to hang that up like it's special. I mean, I guess it's funny, but I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird. It's like why do you have a photo of that there? You could leave it in like a photo album or something at the very least, but you have it in a framed and everything like that. That's not like a frameable kind of thing. Just to Simon looking at that, what he's supposed to think of that when he's like have to see that framed on a mantle in the house. And it's like that's not like a good representation of your dad. You want to like obviously want to show him like a good positive light. So as they was like taking a cab ride, because I was living in New York and they traveling to Jersey, and Simon's just like asking like, you told him like I was a white guy? And I'm not sure how long they've been dating. Here's the thing with these kind of movies. Depending on how serious you are, like you're like a serious boyfriend, and this is my take on it. Nobody has to obviously do the same thing, but it's like typically from my experience, from like especially seeing other people, it's like, especially if you're leading up to the point of getting engaged and want to like take this to the next level, you should long since introduce your parents to your new boyfriend. That's like, at least if you're 2, 3, maybe even 4 months into the relationship, at a certain point, after that's like a good stepping stone to like, okay, let's finally introduce my significant other to my parents. And not at the not at the beginning stages of actually engagement, which that entails that y'all probably been together for at least a couple of years, if not a year, and it's kind of like weird that you have not met each other's parents, or at least his father left as he's a little kid, so he's just a mom. But okay, did the mom meet the girl? Because apparently neither one of you have like your families meet each other, and you're already planning on engaging towards each other. I thought this weird, very weird of a thing. Like I said, it kind of playing on the whole premise of guess who's coming to dinner. Because as I reviewed in that film, excuse me, they only had like 10. They only been knowing each other for 10 days. That's even worse. But at least here with Simon and Teresa, they knew each other for a significant amount of time. But even still, like, let me know. Okay, it's like, if you got in with somebody, how long did it typically took you to finally introduce them to your parents or family or whoever was raising you in general? Because to me, it's like I'm dating a girl after 2, 3, 4 months. Well, I won't say 2 months, maybe like 3 or 4 months into relationship. I think that's kind of long enough for us to start talking about meeting each other's parents, especially if you're going out and stuff like that. It's kind of something that's a topic that needs to be discussed. So there's a funny little interaction when they get dropped off by Mike Epps, who's a taxi driver in this, and of course the parents are assuming it's gonna be a black guy, and because all they know is about like what he does for work and his credit score and everything like that. And of course they were stunned. It seemed like it was this tall white guy. And of course, Percy isn't like, grilling him. It's like, oh, if you're not a real man if you don't play sports. Of course, not giving this guy a fair shake. Like I said, this is like taking, if you took Guess Who's Coming to Dinner into a more comedic route, this is more than likely what you'll get. And of course, like I said, the Netflix movie UP was probably took it to the more modern take on it. Because I'm not sure like how many movies that had the same premise, because this is the only 3 that I know of off rip that has that same concept. So after, there wasn't fooling around, it was kind of playing around, with Teresa's lingerie and stuff like that, and it was goofing around. And of course, Percy walked in on this, and of course he's like, I ain't having that in my house. And this is why I prefer not to have daughters in general. I prefer to have sons, because like I'm not mentally, emotionally, or whatever, I won't say prepared, but I was like comfortable, with that, thought that it's going to happen. Prefer to have, sons. I think it's probably personally easier. Some people disagree. I don't care. I just like, I'm sorry, I can't, with like, daughters. No way, shape, or form. So he tried to take him to this hotel, and Simon, trying to extend an olive branch, tried to like get to know his future father-in-law, but of course Percy is not trying to hear none of that. He ain't trying to have no bonding moments or whatever like that. And to be honest, I probably would have been, not to the same extent, but somewhat to the same extent, acting like, like, I don't want to bond with you. Don't try to bond with me. But I would have been more giving more of a guy a fair shake. But here's the thing that a lot of people, and I'm playing a podcast that talks about like, male and female dynamics when it comes to relationships. And when you have a good daughter, it's important for the girl to have not male friends, but male relatives that has her, you can guarantee has her best interest at heart, and giving her crappy advice. Because male friends, most, I won't say all the time, but more often than not, will try to get their female friend bad dating advice so they can have a shot to swoop on in and hook up with her, because you can't really trust that half the time. But that's where like the father, uncle, male cousins, brothers, grandfather are very important. Even if you don't have a father, like the other male figures in your family are very important in vetting any dudes that you trying to bring home with. Because sorry ladies, kind of crappy when it comes to picking out guys for the most part. I want to say all the time. Every once in a while, like you got a good head on your shoulders, you might find like a pretty decent dude. But for the most part, you need like the males in your family to vet these guys, because we can see through all the shenanigans, and therefore we can like properly vet this guy inside and out. Who is their inner circle, who has his family life like, find out as much as we can about his past. Did he used to hit women in the past? Did he like sell drugs in the past? Did any kind of accidents, or did he any kind of trouble that raised any red flags to us to say like, okay, nix this or anything like that of the sort? You need that, so that way, okay, we find like a solid dude. Okay, this is a solid dude. You stick the hell with him, and moving forward, because the dating market is is a jungle out there. You do not want to be trapped up in it, at least not for too long, and that's so important. And Percy isn't given that fair shake. He just like, you know, uh isn't because he had to. I mean, of course, he's aware when he pointed out, like, he was prepared when the doctor announced it was a girl. But it's like, you should have been well more prepared, sir, because like you knew that this day was going to come, and you gotta, because you don't want to seem like you're rigging the game. You gotta give this kid a fair shake. If he's raising, more than 3 flags to you, heck, even like 2 flags to you, that's like, raising tons of spider sense, then yeah, you obviously raise the issue and you nix it. But you gotta leave the door open for it. You try to take them to like a hotel, even though Teresa is so against this. But I like Simon in this because he is doing what guys in his position should do. It's like, if you mean your girlfriend's parents, and like this is her father's house. He calls the shots. He makes the rules. I'm going to abide by those rules because this is his house. And that's what he's supposed to do. There's no arguing. There's no back and forth. It's, okay, like you said, I can't stay under your roof. That, I'm not going to stay on your roof because it's not about me. It's just like a temporary thing. I'm here for a while. I'm a visitor. I'm gonna like just listen to him. I'm gonna find a motel and stay there for the time being because he doesn't want his daughter, banging some other dude in his house. Like, she probably haven't done that before when she was living in his house and when she was growing up in high school or whatever. But of course, all the hotels are booked for some kind of like convention thing, which is kind of goofy. Like, no hotels, really. It's super convenient. So, Percy relents and decides, okay, you'll just sleep in my basement. And of course, through the meantime, while he's trying to get word about this other potential job offer, he finds out he's getting blackballed because his previous employer is going out of his way to make sure he's not, able to find any work, pretty much trying to force him to crawl back. And that should be illegal in all kinds of ways, blackballing people so they won't be able to find significant work. That should be illegal, or at least in some capacity. We never find out like if he ever got that other job that he wants. Even having one of his friends try to loan him some cash so he can have something to, I guess, keep up with appearances or what have you. But it's only been like a couple of days so far. It's like you shouldn't be destitute at this point. So of course, all through this grilling, Simon made like a lie that thank God didn't last too long, but he was confronted with like, oh, I played sports. I was a part of the pit crew for Jeff Gordon NASCAR. And like, I don't blame Simon for like picking NASCAR because as he pointed out, it's like, I picked the 2 whitest sports that you could think of. That is like, what are the odds? Because what are the odds that Percy is a NASCAR fan? A black guy? I mean, not the same as no black people who are into NASCAR. There are, but the likelihood very low. It's just like, black people with being hockey fans. I'm not saying that's not in the realm of possibility, but the odds are low. But he it's like, he rolled the dice and he crapped out, and now he's on the spot at this point. And as you know, everybody's pointing out to Percy, it's like, it's like, are you giving such a hard time because he's just a white guy? And it's like, just like in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Percy is being challenged. The fact that are you prejudiced yourself against a pretty decent guy that just happened to be white just because he didn't fit your fantasy of what you expect your daughter to be ending up with? You just immediately assumed it's going to be a black person, because obviously it has nothing against white people, but it's just like, as far as like, who his daughters would probably end up with. And then the daughters had like their own little conversation about like, it's true about like, about like the private parts. And it's like, oh yeah, that stereotype, oh, it's total opposite. Is like very big, and it like sings. It's like, of course, like, girls talk about that kind of stuff with each other all the time. It's like kind of obvious, but it's always been like certain stereotypes about like white people that's been quashed over the years. Like Eminem, crushed that whole concept that white people can't rap very easily. He's one of my favorite musical artists of all time. Justin Timberlake, also a great singer, but also like was one of kind of, it's always been white people that can really dance, but he's like really kind of like showed out like, white people can dance their ass off, and he kind of like, he's one of the people that I can think of as like an example of white people knowing some rhythm. So it's always been that, kind of like over time, those kind of stereotypes has been like kind of like been, quelled, that is not even worthy of debate anymore. So trying to get on the better foot, Simon offered to take Percy out for lunch, but then Percy got the brilliant idea to take him to this go-kart thing, and all I could think about was Mario Kart at this point. And then they tried to race each other. Of course, they ended up crashing. It was a hilarious moment. Because Percy assumes he just wants to ask for money, and it's kind of like goofy of Simon to think like he can like put one over on Percy by trying to subtly hint about like, so you must get a lot of people asking for money, and you just you cool enough to give it to them. Like, like, let's say like somebody asks for like $50,000 and quickly pick up like, are you trying to ask me for $50,000? Like, if you beat me in this race, I'll loan you $50,000. Really? I knew it. So that part, it was really funny. But it was right the day before the 25th anniversary party, where Simon pick up the phone and hears from one of Percy's assistants, because he fed him a lie about like what kind of boyfriend Teresa brought over, and made up this whole story about him being black and being in the business and into basketball and all the other stuff. And Simon, hearing all this, is just like, oh, you're ashamed of me, kind of thing. You're saying what I do. You're saying who I am. I'm just a white guy. I'm a good person. I'm trying my best, and like you're not making it fair for me. And at the same time, uh Percy finds out about how like he uh Simon quit his job and he didn't tell Teresa. And at the same time, Simon, points out that, oh, he didn't write his own vows. He took it from like a B2K song, put him on blast. So the wife and daughter now both mad at these dudes, and they go off and visit Teresa's aunt, and a bunch of girls just hanging out of her house, just to blow off steam and get liquored up, while Simon and Percy are in a house just like waiting for them to call as they're leaving tons of messages and stuff like that. And of course, women tend to give each other really horrible advice. I'm pretty sure maybe back at that point in time around 04, 05, this might have been decent advice, but looking back now through 2023 eyes, it's like that's very crappy advice. Even by 2022 standards, looking back on it, it would have been crappy advice. Just like you make them sweat, like it's like all the other stuff. It's like you gotta train him. It's like train me. I'm not not a pet. I'm a person, and it's like this is crappy advice. Women should not tell each other this kind of stuff. And Simon wants to go because he says Teresa's not answering his phone calls, and we've all been there before. But he wants to go there and talk with her face to face. And of course, Percy wisely points out to him, "It's like you do not want to be in go in a room full of black women when they're liquored up and just man hating all night, whipping each other up into a frenzy. You do not want to walk into that mess." And every black man knows that right off rip. And if you not black, but you dated black women, or just you're married into a black family or whatever like that, and you've seen that for yourself, you should know, or at least somebody should warn you, that you never want to enter a room full of liquored up black women that are mad at men, and you're walking into that that snowstorm. It never works out well. They will rip you to shreds. But this is part of a good solid point where Simon and Percy is actually bonding, where they playing like football in the house after watching like an old football game. And they decide to the next morning. Well, Simon helps because Percy hasn't been learning the tango with his wife because she wants to learn. She's been learning how to tango for the 25th anniversary. So Simon ended up teaching him and like helping him out with his vows. And I love this dialogue about, because Percy pointed out while they're practicing dancing that it's like there are differences, but Simon points out to him, but that's just perfect. It's like she's something I'm not. And it's like, you spend your whole life as a whole thinking you're all whole, but once you meet somebody that's become a part of you, and it's like you just won't be able to fathom what your life will be like without them, because now you know what it's like to be truly a whole instead of a part. So that kind of thing. She's something I'm not, and I want her part of my life. So when the next day when they go to reconcile, Percy and his wife reconcile, but Teresa, breaks it off with Simon because she felt she was lied to, and she was completely wrong in this. Even back then, I knew she was not being fair to Simon, because Simon, as he points out, because first of all, he made a good. This is good for the writing part here. He points out immediately. It's like, I need you to talk, to me, not at me. It's like, it's like, I am talking to you. No, you're talking at me. And she was, if any therapist was watching this scene, they would all point out, especially relationship therapists, they will all point out, like, yeah, you're talking at him, not with him or to him, because you're all aggression. Your walls are up. You're in attack mode, and you need to just settle down. Your blood pressure high. Your adrenaline's pumping, and you're not meet each other halfway here. And Simon is trying to meet her halfway, because he points out, I've been busting my butt this whole time trying to make a great impression with your family. I went out my way to make sure, like, I do right by you, at the same time by your father's standards. And yes, I lied to you. I was wrong, because I just did not want to appear like a loser, because, like, a man's job is to be able to provide, because that's how men show their loyalty, by security and being able to provide, give you that relationship that's supposed to be rock solid, because men are gatekeepers of relationships, while women are gatekeepers of sex, because you can't get to the relationship part without the female giving you the okay in that first step, with, like, after the initial interaction and getting to know each other, and, like, she has to say, like, I feel safe with this guy. I like him. He's funny. He's charming. He's handsome. Blah 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 blah. I feel secure enough where, like, we can get to the next level here. Then it's her job to secure that, and he is up to the onus of the man to say, like, wow, I'm digging this girl. I'm vibing with this girl. She's beautiful. She's funny. We like a lot of stuff. All the other things, and, like, I'm gonna lock this down with this girl. But she is not being fair to Simon, because he was doing everything impossible to make sure that everything goes smoothly. But it's just like it was. She really was not trying to see his side of things. She refused to see his point of view. I think this is the part where I do not like Teresa in this. And the way they reconcile towards the end, I think it was very fast, and she should, like, had, like, she apologized, but I don't know, it was kind of quick, because, like, she was, like, solely in the wrong for, like, just, especially initially when, yes, he should have told her from the jump what he did as far as, like, quitting his job, because if you're in a serious relationship, you gotta be able to talk with one another about anything, and then so you can figure out together. You're a team now. You're not just thinking for yourself. You got another person that you gotta consider now. And Simon, that was his wrong, and he's owning up to it. But she is not given. She's not taking responsibility on her part, as far as, like, not like she wasn't defending him when her father was, kind of, like, being, like, unfair and everything like that, but she was just, like, acting like he cheated on her with 5 different women in the past weekend. And it's like, she was kind of taken to the nth degree and not giving any kind of leeway. But he storms off, and then on the day of the anniversary, she had a talk with her father, and he's wondering, like, okay, why would a man who's about to be engaged to a girl will quit his job? That wouldn't make any sense to me. And she brings up about Simon's boss, who she had, like, very ill feelings with. It's like she was not comfortable around him. He was being nice, but there's something off about him. And then when it clicks, Percy goes to meet up with Simon, who was waiting at the train station, and it turns out that Simon quit his job because his boss slash mentor didn't approve of his relationship with Teresa. And so, Percy thought that was very honorable, but also stupid, because you can't go around quitting everything because somebody roll their eyes at what you and Teresa has. You gotta let that roll off. But he encouraged him to get back on the horse, come back, and they go back and reconcile at the end of the film. And this movie was good. I think the reconcile between Teresa and Simon was kind of rushed, because I guess it kind of wrapped it up. It's already getting close to like how long this movie was, like 90 minutes, not 90 minutes. It was like a 105-minute marker. So we got to kind of wrap this up. But yeah, I think honestly Simon and the moms are like the best parts of this film, to be honest. At least as far as like being in the right state of mind and how handling the situation they were in more maturely than anybody else in this film. Well, the sister, I guess, but she only had like a here and there, but not throughout the entire film runtime. Teresa was done well up to the point of the third act breakup thing, and then she's kind of like completely irrational and unlikable. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's definitely worth a watch. Unlike Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, where you can actually have some in-depth discussions, healthy discussions about race relations, and mixed race relationships and stuff like that. Here, not as much, but it definitely challenges more so. While the first one with Sidney Poitier challenges for like white people to accept black people in relationships, this movie is more so on like black people accepting white people into their thing, which is we're more welcoming. We've been more so welcoming throughout the years, more so than the white people back in the day. I think white people in the past 20, 30 years and some change, as began like more so like in that realm when it started to like be more accepting globally, if not like just plain old nationally, while black people maybe slightly longer, because we tend to be a little bit more forgiving and accepting when it comes to most races. But yeah, this movie was fun though. It was very funny. Ashton Kutcher and Bernie Mac's dynamic was very hilarious. It's just fun to see Bernie Mac again. It's just his legacy just lives on. He's very, very good. But yeah, that's my review of Guess Who. I didn't initially plan on reviewing this, but after when I put Guess Who's Coming to Dinner on the list, I just figured like I gotta put Guess Who on it, because more so just to watch a Bernie Mac film. The next movie, what's next on my docket for February? I think will be the Friday films. They're like 3 back-to-back videos of reviewing the Friday films. I think it'll probably be better to review them on Friday, because usually I have these kind of things up on Thursdays. But yeah, so Next Friday, I'm gonna review all 3 Friday films. I wanted to do Friday after next for a Christmas movie review, but you know, if I did that, it would be kind of feeling off if I don't check out the first two, because I kind of like watching them all 3 back to back. So I figured like, okay, I'll just do it for February month and review those so I can have a reason to watch them all 3 back to back instead of just the one. So yeah, look forward to those next Friday. Uh, Later on, I will be reviewing 2 comic book reviews, Spider Ham and Spider-Man Noir. So look out for those later on in a few hours. And yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube or Odyssey, follow me on links in the description, of course. But leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of Guess Who. If you've seen it before, you know, did you remember liking it? But if you haven't seen it in a while, probably good to rewatch that. A nice little time capsule of a film, very early 2000s. But I remember it's just a fun film. It's a nice little fun film with Ashton Kutcher and Bernie Mac just playing off each other. It's very good. But yeah, I will see you guys a little bit later. Take care. Have a great day.